All right. Blessed to be with you guys again. And today will be obviously the last part of this series on fractured soul, wounded spirit, whatever you like. But basically, guys, let me give you just a quick background because today we just kind of walk it together, bring it all together. The consequences of a wounded spirit you can carry with you all your life and be unconscious of what you're dealing with, because the Lord said, a wounded spirit you cannot handle. So we go right back to that verse. And I did this for many, many years without knowing it, which is what I'm going to share with you today. So basically, just to encourage you, take time and go through what we've done. Examine the areas of woundedness. Understand forgiveness is one thing. It's very good, very important. But you can forgive and still have a wounded spirit, which is why there's all these residual consequences after forgiveness that Christians are like, well, why am I still? Why am I? How come? Well, that, and there's all that stuff, and they don't understand. Yes, forgiveness is one thing, but through what happened, your spirit was wounded, and only Jesus can heal a wounded spirit. And I've given you the verses. And so then we walked you through the consequences of woundedness, which there are three main ones: to your identity, and a life of rejection, and a life of performance. All the time looking for love, acceptance, and security, which God put in the heart of everyone he made right from the beginning. So now, today, as quickly as possible, I'm going to share with you how the Lord basically exposed all of this in me and brought me through to a place of truly healing, emotional healing, spiritual healing, understanding, and really brought me through to a place of freedom with him and his love like I had never known. So I hope these stories will, again, just help you fill in your own blanks, and be able to help others. So let's go.
Also, I think there's something I think the custard must have spoiled. Check if I can't spoil your pie in that fridge.
Hey, Nomava, we can hear you, Nomava.
Sorry.
Okay, are we all right?
Yes, we're okay now.
Okay, sorry. So I'm going to share with you three stories. They are not going to be the worst stories you've ever heard. They're not going to bring tears to your eyes. None of that. These are the stories. Hang with me. It will make sense in the end. These are my stories, of which God used to expose and bring forth what I've shared with you all week. So, story number one. I was 21 years old, had just spent my first year with Lauren in Switzerland and Germany in YWAM at the Munich Olympics. I had come home for Christmas, and the church that I went to, of course, they were not, let's say, favorable to my choice of going off with missions, let alone with an organization they had no clue of. So there was not favor there, nor did they support me in any way, shape, or form. I just simply left. Well, when I came back and went to church, the college class leader person He said, Steve, we want you to share with us all what you've been doing, in missions for this last year. Well, guys, as I told you yesterday, I socially, I'm not a social butterfly. Speaking was not something I wanted to do, nor did I like it. Even the thought of getting up in front of people, I'm not exaggerating, I would get sick for days. It just tore me up because it was such high risk failure for me. It wasn't the sport arena. And so when he asked if I would speak, I was like, no, no. But he pressed and he pressed. And so finally I gave up and I said, okay, but I'm not a speaker. So you've got to understand, this was at 21 years old. What you're seeing and hearing now is about 100 years later, okay? And so at 21, I pray, I learned the YWAM, seek the Lord, ask him what he wants you to speak on. I didn't have anything to speak on. And so I'm writing down some notes and I'm doing my best, okay? And I go into this classroom of college kids and I share. Well, lo and behold, everybody got excited, yeah, go figure. Had to be the Lord, and they loved it, except for one person, which I didn't know. But this one person apparently got extremely offended and went straight to the pastor and said, this young guy you're letting speak is teaching heresy to your college kids. Now that got his attention. So Monday morning, I get a call from the pastor. Hey, Steve, do you have time to come to my office? Oh, yes, sir. So, hey, I'm in the same cycles that I showed you. I'm longing for love, longing for acceptance, longing for security. And here is my authority figure who's actually wanting to talk to me. Oh, so my emotions are up here. It's like, oh, happy day. My pastor even knows I exist. I'm happy. He's actually wanting to talk to me. And he's just going to say, oh, Steve, you did such a good job yesterday. I am happy. So I, I go into his office. Steve, sit down. How you doing? Doing fine. Well, son, we need to talk. And all of a sudden, I get this sense, is something ain't right. And I said, well, Pastor, is something wrong? Well, yeah, Steve, I'm sorry, something's wrong. So all of a sudden, my high emotions drop right out. And I begin to put on self-protection. So what's the matter? He said, well, Steve, I understand you spoke yesterday to the college. Yes, sir. Well, son, I hate to tell you, but it didn't go good. And I'm like, sir, everybody there was thanking me. I said, I'm sorry, but I was really encouraged. They were so well, Steve, I'm just telling you, I'm not here to discuss this. It didn't go good. So here's the deal, son. You will promise me that if you ever speak again in this church, you will never speak on anything controversial ever. Is that clear? And I'm like, Pastor, I didn't know I spoke on anything controversial. Again, he says, I'm not going to argue with you. Either you commit to never speaking again on anything controversial, but he never would define that, or you'll never speak in this church again. And I said, sir, I can't commit to that when I spoke what God asked me to speak on. And here it came. That's what I thought. You are just a young rebel wanting authority, wanting to draw people to yourself, no respect for authority. And hear it, you will never speak in my church again. And I know that I told you I was going to let you speak in front of the whole church. And I was going to let you tell people about what you were doing with this strange organization that you're with. But you will never speak in this church again. And I was crushed. And there came the wound. And I said, well, Pastor, and I said it nicely, you will never see me again. And I walked out the door. Now, I went back to my little room where I was staying. And here's what I did, folks. So I'm going to give you 3 stories and try and make this clear. Here's what I did. Father, what did I do wrong? All right. So before I even forgave the pastor, any of that stuff, I had been taught, Father, what did I do wrong? Was there any? And I got nothing from the Lord. Okay. So I draw a wrong conclusion from that. What is that? Well, if God is not convicting me of anything, then everything's okay. Well, that was a wrong conclusion. Even though the Lord didn't convict me of anything because I hadn't done anything wrong, for me to conclude, oh, well, then I'm okay, was a wrong conclusion because I'm not okay. Now, I forgave the pastor. Then I prayed, Lord, forgive him. I don't know what his issues are. I'm sorry. I forgive him. And, but now there's this hole, so to speak, in my spirit, wound. And I don't even know it because I think I'm okay. And to top it off, the pastor called and said, hey, Steve, I hear you're going to speak in another church. I just want you to know I'm going to call that pastor and tell him not to have you because of what they're going to risk. That was my pastor. Boom, there's the wound. All right, years go by. Second story. Years go by, years. And I'm now with Bruce. Bruce and I, by God's grace and calling, and Lauren put us together. So I was actually Bruce's assistant in developing the whole counseling ministry for YWAM. There had, the counseling schools, the counseling clinics. Bruce and I developed the whole thing. And yeah, the Lord brought staff to us later on. So here we are, and we're developing all of this stuff. And a business person flies over. Now we're in Kona. So a business person flies over and says, hey, I've heard of you guys, and I've got a Christian business, and I'd like to borrow one of your counselors to minister to my staff, my business staff. So Bruce comes and says, Steve, hey, would you go? They're going to fly you, put you up, feed you for 2 weeks. All you got to do is pour into, answer their questions, and do whatever. Well, I was happy. Thank you, Bruce. Happy. I'll be happy to do that. Although speaking was still not in the agenda. Now, let me just say that, okay? So off I go, and we start meeting. And I don't know, they had a staff of, 20, 30, something like that. But it was an older, kind of a mature staff. So we started meeting. For 2 weeks, we met every day. And I don't even know how in the world I lasted for 2 weeks speaking on something. But anyway, I did. And goodness me, the staff and I, we really bonded. I mean, we bonded. It was a super neat time. But every day I would ask them, well, where's the boss? I mean, the one that came over and asked me to come over, where'd they? Oh, they're busy. Okay, I hope everything's going okay. Oh, we're fine, Steve, don't worry about that. Hey, look, every day. For 2 weeks, the boss never came once, never contacted me, never nothing for 2 weeks until the day I was to leave. So the morning I'm leaving, I get a call from the boss. Hey, Steve, I understand you're leaving. You've been here a couple of weeks. How about popping in the office before we go? So again, my emotions go up, up, up. Oh man, I'm gonna get, the praise of man, and you did so good, and thank you. And so I go in, and again, here it comes. Steve, sit down, we got a problem. And so just wham, the emotions drop out. I put up all my guard and shields and protections. What is wrong? And here it came. Steve, I am just sorry to say this, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm pretty much repeating word for word. Sorry to have to say this, but I'm utterly and thoroughly disappointed in you. This has been an absolute waste of my time, my money, my efforts. I'm thoroughly disappointed to the point that you're going to have to pay me back for every penny that I have spent to fly you here, feed you, put you up, and the time you've wasted with me and my organization. Guys, I was absolutely overwhelmed. Now, to this day, I got no clue what their problem was. I have thoughts, but back then, this hit me blindside. Because honestly, not even one person in the staff. We bonded, every single one of us. So I knew the problem was not with the staff. But I was so blindsided. I was devastated. And guys, I'm being just open and honest with you. Again, these aren't the worst stories in the world by any stretch. These are my little stories. But I'm blindsided to the point where I actually began to cry. Now, I was probably mid to late 20s, maybe. I had never cried. And it scared me. I mean, tears were foreign to me. I had suppressed everything my whole life, and tears was not in the equation. And all of a sudden, I uncontrollably started to cry. It scared me. I'm like, what is this? This is not good. And as quick as I could, I regained emotional control, and out it came. Same thing. You can do whatever you want. You'll never see me again. Got up, walked out the door. I made my way back to Kona. And when I got there, here's what I did. I got down in my little, wherever my little tent was, and I did the same thing. Father, what did I do wrong? Where did I mess up? Did I say anything displeasing to you? And I'm waiting for the Lord to convict. And nothing. I get nothing. So I forgive the boss, which I knew enough to do that. I forgive the boss, but then I draw a wrong conclusion again, which was, there's nothing wrong with me. The problem is now the wound, which was this big, is now this big. So I'm really fragile of spirit, but don't know it. Now that's where so many Christians are, which is why I've spent this whole week trying to expose this and help you. And so this is it. This is the final day session. May the Lord help you. All right, third story. So now I'm walking around with a gaping hole and have no clue. That's scary. Bruce, very good friend. Okay, he actually married the wife and I. We were very close. He was like a father figure because, again, I longed for that. I longed for that authority figure's blessing. And though I was his assistant, we began to get other people. So we had a staff of about 10 finally come around. And by this time, golly, we had a counseling the very first counseling school going. We had a clinic up the hill. We had a clinic down the hill. We had base ministry for the YWAM people. We had medical ministry. And I can't even remember what else. There was a lot of stuff. And so Bruce comes in one day and says, I've been with the Lord in prayer, and I'm going to delegate everything. Well, sir, my emotions go up because I've been there as his assistant from the beginning. So I'm gonna get some stuff. So my emotions go way up. I'm thinking, thank you, Lord, bless God, hallelujah. It's about time, because I've been plowing with Bruce in this, birthing these ministries. We had been doing this for at least 5+ years. It took to birth this counseling ministry properly. So it had been a lot of years. So Bruce comes into the staff. I want to delegate everything, give it away. So I'm over here. Let's say I'm over here on this side of the room. So then Bruce starts on this side of the room. And he goes something like this. And these are just names. Okay, now I know them, but okay, John and Susie, I'm going to actually give you the counseling schools. Okay, you take them, run them, do with them as you want. Mary and Tom and I'm going to give you the counseling clinic up the hill. Susie and Gary, I'm going to give you the counseling clinic down the hill. John and said, I'm going to give you the base kind of medical / counseling. You take care of the needs here on the base kind of test. Steve. Now, by the time Bruce had got to me, there wasn't anything left to give away. Yeah, you go ahead and laugh now. There wasn't anything left to give away. So real quick, I'm thinking, oh man, well, the only thing left is for Bruce to put me over all of this and just kind of supervise. I like it. It's a good thought, Steve. It's good. What an idiot. Good thought. Good thought. So Bruce, Steve, yes, sir. I'm ready. Man, my emotions are up here. Yes, sir. I'm going to give you family counseling seminars. I mean, here it goes again. Boom. Everything drops. Dead silence in the room. Bruce knew something was wrong because I've never been good at hiding What's in here seems to come out here. I've been told. I was not happy. Now you're sitting there thinking, well, Steve, what's your problem, son? For crying out loud, he's giving you family counseling ministries. What do you want? Here's the problem that you do not yet know. There was no such animal as family counseling ministries. That there was no such thing. Those words hadn't even been invented in YWAM yet. No, there was nothing. My faithful leader had just put me in charge of nothing. He put me in charge of something that didn't even exist. I'm crushed. I mean, I am not happy. This time I didn't cry. I was ticked. And I mean, right in staff, in front of all, I didn't say one word. I didn't say thank you, kiss my foot. I didn't say nothing. I just simply got up, walked out. And everybody's dead quiet. Bruce, like, what is wrong with him? And I mean, in my heart, when I got out of that room, in my heart, I said, Lord, it's over. I'll never trust him again. Now, the problem is I'm in Kona under Bruce for the counseling ministry. But it was over. In my heart, it was over. Now, what was I going to do? I had no clue yet. Was I going to just get on a plane, go home? Was I going to look for another ministry play? I had no clue. I was hurting and I had no clue. This time I didn't go to my little tent and say, Lord, what did I do wrong? I was hurting and I couldn't shake it. Days went by, hurting. I would not go to staff meeting. I mean, you're in YWAM, you have staff meeting every day. I didn't go. I was through. I ain't trusting him. I ain't doing, no, it's over. So after, I don't know, days went by. There was the typical Sunday night, at least it was there in Kona, Sunday night joint base ministry staff meeting thing. Okay, I'm sure you all have such. You know, it's the once a week, Sunday night. Sometimes it's Sunday morning. I don't know. Anyway, so I decided I would go, but I went late on purpose. Now, in Kona, if you've ever been there and seen the pavilion, of course, not like it is now, but back then, so it's outdoors, and I went around, came in the back, outside, up against the bushes. So I'm as far away from the speaker as you could get, but still be counted present. In other words, I'm in no mood for anybody to see me, talk to me. I'm just here, and you better just be glad I'm here. And Lord have mercy, out of the corner of my eye, here comes Bruce. So I tighten up because I am not talking to this guy. So here comes Bruce. He comes wandering up. Steve, how are you doing? Hadn't seen him in days. Missed every staff meeting. Steve, how are you doing? Doing fine, Bruce. Well, Steve, I mean, he's so happy. Steve, is there anything wrong? Can we talk? Bruce, I mean, no, nothing is wrong. I mean, I'm lying through my teeth. Nothing is wrong. I'm happy as can be, and I'm in no mood to talk to you. And I mean, I turned around and walked away. Now, here's where it started, guys. And I say this most reverently because I am not an expert on hearing God's voice. Most reverently. When I began walking away from Bruce, I heard the Lord speak. Audible. I can hear the words now. Steve, very clear. If you don't stop right now, trust him, Bruce, I will not take you any further in ministry. That's pretty scary. I mean, God had my full attention. Now, I kept on walking away, but God knew my heart. He knew he had my attention. So there's a bit of grace here. I went to my little tent, got down before the Lord. And guys, I am not exaggerating with you at all. This was a most intense time. Here's what happened. I didn't pray about right or wrong, why. All of a sudden, I just began to say, Father, why am I hurting so I cannot shake the hurt? Why am I hurting so bad? And when I said that, excuse my French, but it was like all hell broke loose. I literally was prone on the ground, dug my hands into the dirt to hang on. It was like being caught in a hurricane. And the only way I could stay stable was to dig in and hang on. And I shook, and I don't know how long. And I shook, and I shook, and I shook. And then all of a sudden, it's like it broke. And the Lord spoke and said, Steve, you've looked to Bruce as a father figure. And I said, Lord, I'm sorry, I don't understand. First of all, I don't hate Dad. He's still alive. Why would I look to Bruce as a father figure? Sorry, I don't understand. The Lord says, son, it's not that you hate your father. It's that you've always longed for his love, acceptance, and security, and never got it. And so all your life, you've looked to others as a father substitute without knowing it. That's the first time that thought crossed my mind. And then the Lord said, Steve, I have something I need to tell you. I said, yes, sir. Guys, this is hard for me. He said, Steve, you're never going to get your father's love. Man, I began to cry. I cried hard. And I said, Lord, why? And he said, your father cannot give you what he has not to give. He cannot give you what he doesn't have to give. In other words, he's doing the best he can with what he's got to give. I never thought of that, never heard of that. I cried more. And then the Lord said, son, I tell you what I'll do. Now, this is most embarrassing. The Lord said, I'll give you my love. And I said, yes, Lord, but I love you. And he said, but Steve, the depths of my love, you've only begun to touch. I'll take you into depths of my love that you know not. And I said, yes, Lord, please. And I began to forgive everybody. Forgive my dad, Lord. He's not mean. He just can't give what he doesn't have. And I forgave Bruce. Man, I just began to forgive people. And the hurt was starting to lift. And I said, Father, what would you have me do? You know, kind of like Naaman, the leper captain. What would you have me do? I want your love. I want new depths of it to heal me. And the Lord said, Steve, two things. And I'm like, yes, sir, whatever. Now, again, this is very embarrassing, and it's not going to make sense to some of you unless you catch on. I was not a social light person. So I didn't socialize with the staff on the base and parties. And I spent my weekends and time alone. He said, Steve, I want you to go, very specific. I want you to go to the base, pick a married couple, offer to walk with them downtown. It's about a 15-minute walk. Buy them a drink and walk back. Now, you might think that is absolutely, absurdly ridiculous, Steve. Who wouldn't want to do that? Me. I mean, it's just like Naaman, the leper captain, being told, go wash yourself 7 times in that there river. And he's arguing about there's cleaner rivers. Well, it doesn't make sense. But if you will do it, the little Jewish girl, if you'll just do what the prophet said, you'll get healed. For Pete's sakes, hush and do it. I'm telling you these stories because I'm going to ask you, if you're really, really hurting with a revelation that I hope you're getting today, Father, what would you have me do to be healed? And whatever he tells you, no matter how silly it may look, sound, and be to other people, do it. So I go to the base, and I mean, the first married couple I see, I go up to them and I say, listen, would you allow me to walk with you downtown, buy you a Coke, and walk back? Now, hey, okay, obviously my reputation had preceded me. And they said, Steve, could you excuse us just 1 minute? And so they turned to each other and undoubtedly said, the poor guy's out of his mind. He's never been this nice, this friendly, ever. He's never even talked to us. If we agree, we can at least get a free Coke out of this deal. And so then they turned back and they said, hey, Steve, happy to walk with you downtown. You know, this is the kind of Coke I like. So off we go. Guys, I was like a duck out of water. I felt so uncomfortable. It's embarrassing. Now, some of you are going to have trouble understanding this because you're social butterflies. I was so uncomfortable. I mean, literally, I was stumbling for words. Well, how's the family? I didn't even know if they had a family, you know? And then the next thing, I'm like, golly, boy, it's kind of hot here today. It's hot in Kona every day, for crying out loud, you idiot. I mean, I was stumbling for words. Somehow or another, I made it down and back. It was torture. I went back to the Lord and I said, Father, I did it. And he said, yes, son, got a question for you. Yes, sir. How do you feel? And I was like, you know, Lord, I feel different. I feel better. I feel a lot better. And you know what the Lord said? He said, Steve, it's called freedom. You're being set free. And you know why? That's the first time, son, you've served somebody without any ulterior motive. You didn't serve them to get anything. You just served them in obedience to me. How embarrassing is that? But it's set you free. And I said, Lord, I love this freedom. It has a taste, a feel. And he said, Steve, to do that, as uncomfortable as it was, it forced you into my love. So you're making an exchange of whatever your securities are, which I've taken you guys through all week. You're exchanging those for my love. And that's going to set you free to be a servant, whether you get reward, acknowledgement, recognition. In other words, just like Jesus, you serve now because you have the love of God. You're not serving to get somebody's love, acceptance, attention, so forth. Guys, I was very grateful. So then the Lord said, but there is one more thing I want you to do. And I'm like, Lord, anything. I want to be healed and whole. He said, I want you to go to the next staff meeting. And I want you to stand up in front of the whole staff and tell them who you really are. I said, sir, could you repeat that? Because if I do that, they're going to kill me. Okay, they're going to kill me. I'll be in heaven pretty quick. And I'm still young. What's plan B? No, stop. No, Steve, there is no plan B. You go and you stand up and you tell them. Okay. So I go to the next staff meeting. Now, guys, I'm not going to give us a break today. If you need to take one, go. I'm going to be done here in about 10 minutes. So I go to the staff meeting. And guys, I'm in the back of the room as usual. And guess, of course, who the leader is? I mean, the leader of our staff, it's Lauren Cunningham, for Pete's sake. So I'm back there in the back. The Holy Spirit's like, hey, are you going to obey or not? And so I forced my hand up, you know. It wasn't voluntary. I had to force it up. And Lauren's like, Steve, is that you, son? Yes, sir. You got a question? No, sir. Well, Steve, what's up? Could I come up there and share something? Lord have mercy, dead silence. I mean, dead silence in the staff. And we had a large staff. I had been there now for, Lord, 7 years or more. This is the first time I'd ever even spoken a word in staff meeting. Hey, and so Lauren milks the thing. Hey, guys. Hey, guys. How many of you want to hear what Steve has to say? Huh? Don't we want to hear, hey, Steve Cake. And everybody's like, we want, dear Lord, I'm dying. And these guys are having a party and I'm dying. So I go up there and I said, I need to tell you all something. And then here it comes. But guys, honestly, I to mimic it was like this. I need to tell you something. I don't love any of you. Whew. Dead silence. And then here it came. I'm a selfish, egotistical, independent person. And I don't love any of you. I'm sorry. Kill me now. And I mean, they came around me, hugged me. They said, but Steve, we love you. And you know what? I went back to the Lord. I said, Father, I've never felt like this in my life. Son, it's freedom. What you did forced you. I forced you into the love of God. You had to hold on to my love to do that. Don't ever let go now. In other words, from now on, son, get your love, your acceptance, your security from me. Don't ever look to man. Let me be your source. Serve like Jesus because you have the love of God. Don't serve to get it. Walk in the freedom now. And don't ever come back. Don't ever go back. Walk in the freedom of my love. Guys, it's been a lot of years now. By grace, I've never gone back to self-protection. Here's the last thing I'm going to share with you, and then we're done. The proof of this will be, unfortunately, tested by rejections, crucifixions, betrayals. You'll be tested. I won't bother you with another 30, 40 minutes of those tests, except just to say, you'll be tested. Between now and heaven, you'll be tested. So I have been since then sorely tested. I mean, sorely. It was quite devastating many times. But here's the difference. There's a difference between when you're hurt, giving it because you know the love of God, you know enough to give him the hurt and let him heal it. And then you keep right on going and you're willing to be hurt again. Okay, yeah, it hurts. But there's a difference between hurt and devastation. And devastation is where it just continues to be a life of woundedness. And now you're looking for love substitutes all over the place all the time. Everything I've told you this week, that's your choice. So guys, don't be afraid of the tests that are yet to come. Betrayals, people are going to crucify you, friends betray you, misunderstood. Know how to handle it. Go into the love of God. Yes, you forgive, but in the love of God, let him wash and heal you so that you don't ever lose the freedom that comes with his love, and walk in it and be a servant because you have the love of God, not to get anything. And you'll walk in freedom till the day you die. All right, bless your hearts. If you need prayer or anything, I'm sure Ansel and Sean would be more than happy to pray with you. So let's just